This is really, really big news, right? Frank Warren and Queensberry are reportedly closing in on a groundbreaking broadcast deal with DAZN that would see them unite with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom on the same platform moving forward. Frank Warren's contract with TNT expires next year. This is according to the Times Sport. Wow. Frank Warren on DAZN. So Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn on DAZN, along with Golden Boy. Does anyone else really? I know they pick up shows now and again. I know Michael Conlon, a couple of his shows, Conlon Promotions, they'd be on DAZN as well. So GBM, is he as if? Is the promoter's name? They're now on DAZN. So we're seeing DAZN, certainly when it comes to the UK, and obviously they've got Golden Boy in the States. We're seeing DAZN, certainly when it comes to the UK, they're really picking up a lot of steam with getting the promoters, whether it be big or kind of medium sized, because I would consider GBM, they're not a small promotional company by no stretch of the imagination. They're definitely ahead of the likes of, we'll say, the likes of Steve Goodwin and people like that. But they're not up there with the likes of Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren just yet. Frank Warren on DAZN, wow. If you had said to me a couple of years ago that this would even be something that would be remotely talked about, even 2 years ago, I would have laughed, because wasn't it about 2 years ago Frank Warren was saying that Box Nation in their heyday had more subscribers than Eddie Hearn and DAZN had? That was only about 2 years ago. And now it looks like, well, he could be on DAZN in the next year or so. It would mean then that like pretty much all bar Ben Shalom and Sky, but we don't know what's going to happen, because if you think about it, actually, Ben Shalom and Sky, that deal is up next year, isn't it? And the shows, I will give Ben Shalom credit, the shows have been better so far this year for the most part. They have been better. I think he's focusing more on the, quality over quantity. It's not like he was doing many big shows or he was doing many shows in of itself last year, but the ones he was doing, you might have one somewhat decent fight on it, which has been the main event, and then you're just like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? That's really all it was. It was kind of like a glorified next gen show with a maybe somewhat decent main event, if even. And again, I say that if even, because some of the main events weren't even that good. So this year's been better for him. His deal with Sky, I think, is up next year. Will they renegotiate that? Will they extend it? If Frank Warren goes to DAZN, where does that leave TNT in terms of boxing? Because obviously the TNT team, they have their moments. Like, I think last night was a good example where you just kind of look and you're kind of raising your eyebrow a little bit as to what the TNT team are coming out with when Nathan Heaney fought Brad Pauls. And I think for everyone watching, that fight was fairly one-sided after round number 3 in favour of Brad Pauls, and the team were making it out as though this was a nip and tuck competitor. Like, what? I'm sorry, what? No, it's definitely not that. So they do have moments like everyone else. But for the most part, I quite like the team on TNT. You get Laura Woods, or you get that girl Becky. Can't remember her last name, Becky something. She's actually quite good, to be fair. They're both quite good. Carl Frampton, Steve Bunt's pretty good. Richie Woodhall, he has his moments where he can be a little bit biased, but for the most part, it's quite good. So I wonder what would happen with them. Would some of them transfer over to DAZN? I don't know. And again, this is just reported, but I would say, considering how close Frank Warren is with Turki Al Sheikh, and considering the fact that DAZN, it seems to me as though Turki Al Sheikh is, Frank Warren is his guy, so to speak, but DAZN is his platform. Not in a sense of he doesn't own it, obviously, but he does the most work with DAZN. The shows do be on DAZN. I'll give you an example, right? This Terence Crawford show, I don't believe it's on any other platform in the UK other than DAZN. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be on BT or TNT, it might be on Sky, but for the most part, you would say that, he is primarily kind of a DAZN guy in terms of the pay-per-views. I know the Joshua show, Joshua Ngannou, that was on Sky Sports, but the build-up was mainly on DAZN. It wasn't even on TNT. So it would kind of make sense, if you think about it in that sense, for Frank Warren to be on DAZN. You can do a lot more Matchroom versus Queensberry. I also think as well, from a business point of view, how would it be for a network? Like, if you're a network, would you want to share a pay-per-view 3 ways? Because if you think of it like this, just use an example, like when Fury fought Usyk, right? I know the pay-per-views would all equate to one, because obviously you would have bought it on Sky if you like Sky, you would have bought on DAZN if you like DAZN, you would have bought on TNT if you like TNT. So they all would have gone towards the pay-per-view at the end. But I'm sure one network would have wanted to be the main provider because it would have just meant more income for them. So maybe they're all looking and saying, right, well, we want the income to go to DAZN, so therefore we need to make sure it's exclusively on there, the pay-per-views. So Frank Warren, bring your stable over there. Will they do that with Sky, with Ben Shalom? Stranger things have happened, but yeah, some people have been saying that they like the idea of, like, whether it be DAZN, whether it be TNT, just kind of monopolizing it, because it means then, certainly in the UK, you can't go with this whole kind of, narrative of, oh, well, he fights on this network and he wants to fight on this, it's all this. That kind of seems to be fading now since the Saudis have got involved. We are seeing a lot more fights between this fighter who fights with this promotional company. Look at Felix Cash versus Tyler Denny, Boxer versus Matchroom Queensbury 5v5. We are seeing it a lot more now. Like, that doesn't seem to be as much of an issue in the UK as it does still in the States to an extent. Although saying that, it's kind of, look at the show we have coming up now on August the 3rd. We PBC fighters fighting on that show as well. So I think with the Saudis being involved, that kind of whole network issue is kind of falling by the wayside, which is a good thing, to be honest with you. And it also means then that you're not having to fork out money to several different, if you are doing that, you're not having to fork out money to several different providers and subscriptions when it's all going to be on the one. I'll give you an example. Like, I don't have Sky, I don't have TNT. I do watch them, but I don't have either of them. I do have the DAZN subscription, obviously. If I wanted to, and at one point I did have a subscription for all three, that's a lot of money. You're paying for a Sky subscription, you're paying for a TNT, and you're also paying for the DAZN one. That's a lot. If it's all on the one, well, then it's just one payment, and it's probably going to stay the same. So you're saving a lot of money in the long run as well. So that's a good one for the customer. So it's an interesting one. Frank Warren on DAZN in the next year, I would say it would make sense, to be honest with you, as I said, because he's working with Turki Al Sheikh. Turki Al Sheikh is working with Eddie Hearn as well. The main kind of work seems to be going on DAZN, so why not? We'll get to see more Matchroom versus Queensbury shows. We'll get to see, I would say that it would, a lot of fighters, because we got the Olympics coming up this week, and I'd say with that in mind, a lot of fighters will be looking at Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. I'd say the two of them are going to absolutely mop up the amateurs from Team GB turning over. And I wouldn't even just say the amateurs from Team GB. I'd say a lot of, because Frank Warren is starting to sign some American amateurs now. I'd say they're going to mop up a lot of these amateurs turning over, not just in the UK, abroad as well, because realistically, even if you're in America, you'd probably look at Queensbury, or you'd look at Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and think, do you know what, look at the shows they're doing. I want to get in on the Saudi market, and they're the two main guys to be with. So I'd say they're going to absolutely mop up over the next few months a lot of these amateurs turning over after the Olympics. So it's interesting times. It's definitely interesting times for the future. And yeah, Frank Warren on DAZN, possibly, reportedly, in the next year. And let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Do you actually think, no, he should stay with TNT? That they're better, that would be a better fit for Frank Warren? Or do you think that actually, you know what, go to DAZN? Let me know your thoughts. I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Peace.